What is going on, X Community? X Stomp here, and today, people, we're going to be going over the post-draft power rankings for the low-tier AAA off-season for the Forge, and joining me is going to be Steer.
Hi!
Oh, alright, so, this isn't going to be extremely in-depth. We're basically just going to go over, the issues with the teams. Technically, you guys can't do anything about it because it's after Grace, but you know what? We'll just go over them.
A lot of it is to help you guys understand potential sets you can run for your teams to help circumvent your weaknesses.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so starting off right at the bottom, we do have McGriddle's team.
The reason why it is here, unfortunately, first off, I have to say, it is an absolute shame for me to have to put the team with the Pikachu on it at the bottom. Pikachu is, ironically, the single strongest breaker in the format, with Galvanize E-Speed, or Galvanize Double Edge, Galvanize Return, whatever it may be, with its Light Ball. But, as you can see, it has no Dark type, which is very essential in this format, or Fairy type, and no resistances or immunities to Dark or Dragon. That's bad.
That is pretty bad. When you look at like the Steel type, and it is like Sliggoo's okay, but when it's not obviously resisting that Dragon type, it's tough.
It's also a trappable Steel.
That is true, yeah, which
Especially
means
Sliggoo is super trappable.
Yeah, because obviously you want to run a Violet, but then you can't be running Shed Tail, so... Yeah.
You mean Magnum? Yeah, Shed Shell. Yeah. Shed Shell. That thing. Not to mention, not super great against Ghosts, with the only medium means Cyclezar, who doesn't always want to switch into attacks.
Mm-hmm.
You guessed wrong, Cyclezar is taking a hefty chunk. Rock moves aren't great. I mean, they're okay for your team because you actually have two very solid resists. And I just don't see much to... And I mean, you have great options for clearing out things for Pikachu with Decidueye and Gastrodon. But that... When you look at a team and you see that there is no Dragon switch-in or Ghost or Dark switch-in, especially the Dragon one with D-Maw, it's just free.
Yeah. I mean, besides that, no, I mean, we kind of went over everything. It's a strong team in concept. Like, I can see what you're going for, but I don't really know. I personally don't really like how, I want to say, like, not very strong this team is. Like, yes, Pikachu is insanely strong. However, if you're going to be running Galvanize... What the?
Decidueye is very strong.
I mean, sure, yeah. Decidueye can hit hard too, but besides, like, out of Pikachu, Decidueye, and then Centiskorch, that's your offense.
Yeah.
And, like, Pikachu, obviously, like, you could run Volt Absorb or something.
Shift your Cyclezar.
Okay. But, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's not a very strong team, which is why it's at the bottom here.
Mm-hmm. That's fair enough. I mean, ways to circumvent this, make sure Decidueye is breaking as hard as possible. Lean into that Gastrodon as best as possible. Spit-F Gastro will be your best friend, especially for attempting to take Draco Meteors.
Yeah.
And then, good luck with the Sliggoo situation. Don't be afraid to switch Pikachu into Glaciate as well to deal with those grounds. But, yeah. On to the next team.
Alright. Next team we have is Denny's team.
Exo?
Yes.
Can you show everyone what happens when you take the Tinkatuff off the team?
Oh, yes, of course. Here you go.
Yeah. Great that you have a Tinkatuff, but it's a 6-point Mon that doesn't have the most bulk in the world, that if trapped, just ruins you.
And it's the same situation with the last steel type. Was run a Violet, then you can't have the good item here, which is
Eviolite.
Yeah.
But as much as you would love to, right? It's in most matchups. It's like, oh, if they're running an ability to trap my 6-pointer, it's a waste. But when your 6-pointer is doing that much for you on the resistances and the immunities, it matters so much.
Right.
To keep this thing around.
Yeah.
Be able to switch into Dracos specifically. Brave Birds is a big one. Psychics.
Sludge Waves.
Stuff
like that.
Sludge Waves. Because, the Viper and Cloth are not the best switch-ins to attacks. Period.
Yeah.
Especially on the special side. So, your defense outside of that is Orbital. Really? I guess Toadscroll on the Spadef side, but this team lacks a lot of physical defense. Cloth, with its really bad single rock typing, gets decimated by almost everything. It's really hard for you to stave off those hits that this team needs to. Offense, solid, like it's a middle level offense though. It's nothing special.
Yeah.
And it's part of why this team is down here.
And again, without a dark type, it's very scary for a lot of the mons that have expanding force or like stored power sets. Yeah.
Dark is a very important type in this meta as it's fighting. But I guess again to circumvent those weaknesses, Tinka Tough needs to run its Shed Shell more often than it does Eviolite here to be able to come into the dragon attack and not get picked off, because teams will be looking to do that, make it so they don't have that extra ability, so you can try to run them over with your Heliolisk, with your Oricorio that can obviously change types. Unfortunately, it doesn't save dragon weakness, or your Psychic. Well, actually, I guess your Psychic one somewhat.
Gives you a Ghost.
Bathing Breaker. They're pretty with the Ghost. And so.
True.
Palladium Blaze is pretty helpful for you. Use it solidly as a breaker. Good luck with Ghost types. Get rid of them early. Pursuit is a thing. Use it.
Yep. Alright.
Yep. Next team
we got is Burger's team. What? That's insane.
19 extra points, by the way.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, it's all the way up here. It's higher than it should be. Obviously, weaknesses to fighting and fairy and water and ground stink, but this team has switch-ins for all of them.
And 2 of those you can run immunity things for, so immunity abilities.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's honestly not terrible on that front. The defense is Belly Bolt. And maybe Copper Raja and maybe Rhyperior, but not really.
And Wigglytuff.
Sure. It's gonna be hard defensively. Very slow team. And being weak to fighting in a meta where the strongest attacking type is fighting. Good luck.
Yeah, but speaking about fighting, I mean, grab locked, honestly, I mean, it is 9 points, there's a lot, but it does have Drain Punch, it does bulk up, like, it's not bad.
It's triage, right? It needs to be triage almost every week, though, and that's Free Queenly Majesty. Stemapore is honestly a very valuable pickup here. It does have very solid power for the points it's worth. 98, 101 with sheer force is nothing to scoff at, and honestly pretty hard to deal with.
Yeah.
I guess advice for Burger's team: break. Because surprisingly, this team has the breakers in the offense to try to go sack for sack, and then clean with Semipore or Houndoom.
Yeah.
Which is probably going to be best play. But it's getting better. If you spent your points, maybe this would have been even better. This could have been way up in the higher ends of these tiers. But yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right.
Also, it's pretty slow.
Round 4 Lunatone.
Removal is Hisuian Braviary, by the way.
Yeah.
Next team.
Okay.
We got Egrill, the undefeated player at the moment, because I played 2 games and lost to this one. Now the type chart's great. There's a very few solid reasons why this team is down here. A, there is 0 removal. 0. There is no defogger, there is no spinner, there is no mortal spin, there is no core change.
Not needed.
It has to rely on magic bounce to get rid of hazards or to stop hazards.
Yeah.
Point B, its highest speed is 85.
Yep.
It's not outrunning shit. And so it has a clear strategy to it. With and if it's employed correctly, great. If not, good luck.
Yeah.
It very simply, it wants to play defensive, play passive, play as passive as it can be, and eventually open up for Duraludon and for Alligator to clean in the end game.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing it can do.
It's definitely it's yeah, like it's not the worst team. There are a few things that I think personally for me I wouldn't be extremely happy about. Like I know I don't know a ton about, AAA, but I look for good electric types because obviously you can go refrigerate on your normal moves and that's really strong. You have there's no fighting type, which fighting is like you said really strong in AAA. So you are missing some really strong types as well, some really good offensive types. A lot of this is defensive. You do have Duraludon and Feraligatr, which are really strong, but a lot of these mons are defensive.
But I will say, it is the first team I've seen so far that I think can go far.
Yeah.
There's some teams above this that are going to have higher chance of getting far, but probably won't be able to get in the top areas. If Egrill plays this team like it should be played, which has been shown already, then I can see Egrill taking this team pretty far.
Okay, yeah.
Because it can play that defensive style. But you do need to watch it for the reverse hazard game, because it will break you down.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Alright, and just strong breakers. Next team.
Yep.
Growth Chestplate. Alright. Growth Chestplate's team. Let's see. Actually, would you like to start?
Sure. I will say the only reason why this is up here is because you have so many good mons on the team. The reason why it's not further up is because you're missing a lot of really, really good types, or really needed types in AA. To start off, there's no steel type, like we went over. Really good type. A big one here, I would say, is that your dark type is a Sneasel, which is your offensive mon. So if you were going to switch to an expanding force mon, and they have any type of fighting move, it's not going to be a switch in after that. And yeah, what am I missing here? Oh yeah, no fairy, which is big.
We'll check. Yeah, no fairy, no steel, no dragon switching at all. 4 rock weaknesses and no resistance. No poison resistance. Yeah, it's just the type chart's the big thing here.
Yeah.
Your rocker is, you have a good rocker in Torkoal. And you have good removal. But it's just the type chart really is the big one. Where you have so many lack of resistances to common types and unimmutable types that it gives you a lot of trouble. Like, I mean, the gaping fighting weakness, no poison resistance, no rock resistance, no dragon resistance. I mean, all would have been circumvented by steel type.
Yeah.
Instead of going triple normal.
True.
But yeah, it's right. It's got some great mons on here, though. I do have to say that. But Scarfers will roll this team over. All right. I think that's. I mean, for growth to succeed, lean into Lantern as your pivot. Break as hard as you can.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Type null as well.
And we did see that they know what they're doing, at least like building wise. They played really well, as you've played them already as well.
I got lucky.
Yeah, they should have probably won, but hey, it's Pokemon, so anything could happen.
Yep.
If you guys didn't see that game, definitely watch it in replays. But yeah, I think they definitely show that they know what they're doing, and so even though they have a lot of types that they're weak to, and a lot of types that they're actually missing, I still think that they are in really good contention to make it to playoffs.
Yes, I think so as well. It's really just going to be about can growth lean on the natural bulk of Lantern and Null to open up Sneasel, open up Sigilyph, open up Rotomo, X-Cloud to win games.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that right there gives us the end of the lower, what we call lower section of teams.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of split up the 3 sections to make it easier for us to deal with. Now we're in the teams that are in the middle here. Less glaring weaknesses is generally a big thing.
Yeah.
And more options. So, bottom of the middle category, so 6th worst, 11th best, no, 9th best, no, 10th best, brain, it's Shinray. I've been talking too much. Exo, go.
Okay, so I think that this team, well, I know that a lot of these mons here are actually pretty good. They have a lot of options. Articuno, really strong 20-pointer. It's able to click Expanding Force a lot of the time because it's very fast. Well, not very fast, but it's fast. It's very strong. And it is one of the, well, I will say one of the best, but it's probably the best Expanding Force user because of just how easy it is to use.
In this format, yeah.
Yeah, in this format especially. Drapion, again, the best Poison Dark type, and definitely... really? Oh, Overqwell?
Overqwell.
Okay. I kind of like Drapion more just because of knockoff. I feel like you have a little bit more options, but
Overqwell has more offensive options than Drapion does. I think it's the big one, but
okay,
statistically, but they're both solid. I mean, Drapion's still very solid Poison Dark for regen, especially. Sharpness breaking is a solid set. Sniper sets. I mean, it already has sniper, but surprisingly, you can play into that a bit if you wanted to. It's mostly AV regen, but it can do a lot. Probopass is another great AV regen option, surprisingly. It has some very good resistances. And, I mean, prepping for Probopass, haha, no, I'm kidding. It's pretty important to prep for it. But good resistances, and can be immune to one of its 4 times weaknesses if need be. I think this team has a great defensive bulk. Where it seems to suffer is A, in its type chart, B, in its offense.
Really?
If that's what you... I'll just explain that first, and then I'll let you explain. A lot of this offense relies on Articuno to pop up in teams. it'll be great into those teams that don't have darks or good darks. But your highest attacking stat is 105 in Girder, and your highest special attacker outside of Articuno is what, 90 in Venomoth and in Blossom. You're not going to be hitting too hard. Really, is the thing I'm seeing here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have amazing offense outside of Articuno, but yeah, Drapion hits pretty hard. Raichu has like nasty buttons. A lot of these ones have setup, which is good. Marowak hits pretty hard in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just when you don't get free turns, it's because AAA doesn't give you many free turns, so it might struggle a bit to get going. It may be really overwhelming defensively for some teams, for some players especially, but you got a lot. It's pretty hard to get the team going on the offensive side. I guess advice to make the team good: don't always click Expand Forces Articuno because dark types can come in. Make sure you have ways to deal with those. Drapion, I mean, don't be afraid to run offense on your mons outside of Probopass because they need it. You need to be able to put some pressure. That's the general gist of it.
Yeah. Alright. Let's go on to the next team then, which is Lucky T's team. I kind of feel like this one should be below Shinrai, personally.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. It's probably because like a lot of these mons are pretty weak to like one specific type. You got Shiinotic, you got Salazzle, you got Sandslash has a bunch of them, right? And if something's running Mold Breaker, you know, if you're going Earth Eater Salazzle, it doesn't matter. So, yeah.
I think the thing I see in this team, first off, obviously the type weaknesses and the lack of bulk are the things that make this team a little bit weaker. It does have every type that it needs, and I think the thing I see though is it's quite potent offensively. It is one of the, if not, it's not the most, but it's one of the more potent offensive teams. Galvantula is a relatively solid breaker in this format. Again, with webs. Tauros Aqua is very hard to deal with fighting water coverage being only walled by, I believe it's water absorb ghosts specifically. So Lazzle has a pretty solid offense, especially with Sheer Force or with Desolate Land. Golurk hits pretty hard. Farigiraf hits relatively hard. Regidrago can run an 8 ability now to circumvent its weaknesses. You have a dark type and Honchko that hits pretty hard. Everything on this team, basically outside of Shiinotic, and well, the Gimme Goal is never coming to a game, is a relatively solid offensive threat. And that's, I think, what I see in this team that puts it, again, it's not too high because it is, I'm going to slap a Scarfer on and roll your team.
Yeah.
But it does have some solid offense. Shiinotic does go triage with Strength Stat to cripple physical attackers. And you do have some special bulk in, I guess, Shiinotic again. And I guess Farigiraf as well. But this team needs to focus on playing offensive and keeping pressure as much as possible.
Okay.
Specifically with, like, get Aqua in as much as possible, because teams are going to be so deathly afraid of that. Specifically, like, adaptability, Polaris Blade in Aqua.
Yeah.
Again, Sheer Force, Lazzle.
The biggest thing about this team, though, is, like, there's not a lot of pivot moves, so you're going to have to do a lot of, like, hard switches, which can be very risky, again, with a lot of these teams having a bunch of setup. So.
True. It's, you can go, this team's really got to go sack for sack as well. It's one of those teams. Or you can run a weather ability and like a boosting weather, like a, say, Sun into Chlorophyll for Golurk. or sand into sand rush for Golurk
Mhm.
to get that thing moving fast enough to claim its kills would be an option. And running weather may not be a bad option for this team in some games. Drought specifically for Salazzle still gets boosts. Or I guess rain for Aqua as well is not bad. It's an option. But I do like the offense this team brings. And I mean, EXO has pointed out some great weaknesses as well, which is why it's here, somewhere in the middle. Anyways, you good with that one?
Yes. Yeah, I think good.
Cool. On to Twee's team.
Yes. Well, again, I think this team has kind of the same issue that we saw a little bit earlier, where
With Lucky specifically.
right, yeah, where there's a lot of 4x weaknesses, and yes, you can throw on your Earth Eater for Reverum or your Sap Sipper for Whiscash, but again, Moldbreaker, Terravolt, whatever, all of the Moldbreaker ones, they could break right through that. And if you do have a team like this, where you have a lot like, oh, I could just patch it up with that ability, I feel like a lot of people are going to be bringing Moldbreaker and stuff against you. But besides that, I think this team is pretty solid. There's only one, like, you're going to have to bring Whiscash if you want any hazards, which is not good. And then if you want to remove hazards, you're going to have to bring Quaxwell. So...
Not great.
Yeah.
The
But
reason
offense
why
is
this
good.
team,
Right.
the reason why this team is above Lucky is, I mean, the offense I'd say is similar in power level, but it's a lot easier for Tweet to put the immediate pressure with the offense and switch into things because he has a better type chart.
Yeah.
That's really right. I mean, Earth Eater Rev Room should come like every week if it is coming to games. It's probably the best item ever for him. Kilowatt Roll Drizzle's very, very strong. Just getting to abuse high power moves. McMortar's a really strong mon. Virizion can be strong on either side if need be. Dodrio's even a really crazy breaker, physically. It's another one of those teams that wants to go sack for sack, that doesn't have the bulk, but can really pressure teams on the offensive side.
Yeah. This, like, I think this team is definitely. I mean, it's probably me because I like when teams look really colorful. That's just me. I don't know, but this team definitely looks a little bit better. Just by looking at it, the type chart, like you said, looks better. The offense is similar, but I think the big thing about Tweed's team that I don't like as much is that the abilities that you're going to be running are pretty, like, you're very predictable.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you could try to swap it up, but you're probably best to just run the best sets for it.
Yeah, you're right. That's going to be something that might give you a little bit of trouble. But all things considered, yeah, it is the middle team on this list. So,
yeah. All right, let's go to the next team, which is actually DDA.
It is DDA's team. This is a lot more, I think, first glance, a lot more balanced than the teams you've seen before. Like, you're actually seeing some bulk, some offense. Although there are obviously some glaring weaknesses. Your flyers, this is a Leiron. But, which again has that same problem we saw with the lower lens teams. But a Selgor's a really strong breaker. Articuno can do a lot of damage. Serena's pretty solid. Guzzlord's solid. There's a lot more solid options, but you also have the defense to back it up. But you then run into, like, type chart issues. The big one for this team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, when I look at this team, I see it as more defensive. There are a few, like, offensive mons that can break, but again, like, when I look at this team, I think of this team it's really fat, and I feel like you're going to be running a lot of the immunity abilities, like Earth Eater for Laron, maybe like a Volt Absorb for Articuno, or like a what's it called, Magic Guard, so you don't need to run heavy duty boots.
Magic Guard's best for Articuno, yeah.
I don't know. This team is
Or weather.
Weather? What do you mean?
Running Snowscape, or Hail now.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's snow now. Running snow warning or drizzle, just allowing you to throw off blizzards and hurricanes as well is another option.
Yeah, it does have Auroville, right? So.
Yeah, so like an Aurora Veil Hail set.
Which.
And then you can run like a Slush Rusher.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But yeah, I mean, this is where we're getting teams, like, there's bigger threats on this team than there were on the end of the team before. More bulk as well. It's just the weaknesses on the type chart here that give you a little bit of trouble. Especially, and I guess the speed gap. You do struggle with speed below a Celgor.
Yeah.
Yeah, just summaries on sets again. Sheer Force to Felgor, really solid. Spoke about Articuno a bit. Guzzlord can just do whatever the fuck it wants, really. He healed the one for Guzzlord. It's actually given the ability to heal up with a 223 HP set. 3 can go Gravity Glide. It's the main one, or just regen defensive. But yeah, the options are there.
Yeah. We have really.
Yep. The final team of what we call mid tier. It's the 6th best team we've got in MAC.
Yeah, so this team, honestly, off the bat, you look at the type chart, pretty solid. Like, only thing is dark types, sure, but you look more in depth in it, and you look at fire. You only have one switch in, which is a Pelipper, which, I mean, if it's a special mon, it's gonna be annoying. You've got you're pretty weak to ice. Again, your only switch in would be Satotl, which isn't the best. So like you keep looking at this team and it gets worse and worse, which is it's not the best.
I mean, yeah, I think that's what you hit. It's again one of those teams we're getting into now where there's offense, there's defense, there's a good blend on it now, which is pretty solid. But what you run into is, well, what is it saying? Speed tier's bad too. Lanoon is your 100 speed tier. Everything else below that doesn't really do great.
Yeah.
But like you now have offense in Meloetta, you have defense in G-Weezing, offense in Mabosstiff. There's now another solid blend where you can play more options, more styles. And it's really the difference when you get into higher ranked teams is teams are now locked into one style to succeed. It's now we have multiple styles to succeed in. We can play multiple ways and give multiple versatility options.
Yeah. And you mentioned Lanoon being the fastest mon, and like most of the time you're gonna be running extreme speed, so you're really only needing to outspeed something like a Rotom as your fastest mon, which, I mean, that's not that good.
Yeah, and the Rotom might be point defensive even, so
yeah,
that's another thing that gives you a little struggle. But
yeah,
you just get into, again, as I said before, just there's still a solid mix of things that you can run on this team. Meloetta's scary as shit. Mabosstiff's relatively scary in this format.
Mm-hmm.
Is really high offense. Dark Fairy cover. A little party shot. And there's a pretty solid defensive backbone to go with it. All things considered, not a bad team.
The other thing that I did want to mention, if you do look at the ground weakness, 3 of them are Levitate users, and you might not be running Levitate on any of them, so really it's just Pelipper again. So, you know, not the best for you. Pelipper has to do a lot on this team, which I never thought I was going to say that on a team like this, but hey, I mean, Pelipper has to do a lot.
It's kind of ironic though that Pelipper actually becomes a pretty okay defensive option in this format, rather than your typical Drizzle setter.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to the higher one, which is the top 5.
Yes.
So the first one here is Solo's team, Mr. Chat GPT.
Team Chat GTP.
Now, I don't know if he used it on all of his mons. I will be honest with you, the team looks solid. So, I could see him maybe using it for, like, the first few rounds, and then, like, ending up, he started to pick. Because the team itself looks like I could see myself drafting this in an AAA league. But...
Yeah. It did end up pretty solid. You do rely a little heavily on Tinkaton. That's generally how it works, though.
Mm-hmm.
You can afford to actually run the Shed Shell on Tinkaton every week. But it does have to run Shed Shell every week.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that holds this team back, other than the speed tiers, is the huge gaping ghost weakness this team has. Goddamn, that's brutal.
Yeah, this team would love a normal type somewhere.
Or dark, because it doesn't have one.
That's true. Dark actually is a bigger one.
It's actually a bigger one here, because you're now weak to Psychic. Although you do have, like, your Tinkaton can switch into it, but this team leans and relies way too heavily on a Tinkaton to do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Kadabra's a great low tier pick.
Yeah, that was okay. I had two mons on my list, and I was like, okay, Typhlosion's number 1, number 2 was Kadabra, and I was like, all right, I can leave this. And I actually was able to snipe it from Solo, but I didn't know Solo said Kadabra, and I was like, you know, I already sniped a bunch of people by accident because I had a list of what I was picking, and I saw he said Kadabra. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it to everyone. So I was like, I'll let him have it.
It's very valuable. It shouldn't be 6 points.
Yeah,
that's my. Anywho, though, yeah, I mean, Decidueye Sui's a pretty solid breaker. Flygon's a really bad option, but you know that's me hating on Flygon. Haunter solid, Kadabra solid. Very solid, especially offensively. Physically, outside Decidueye.
Yeah,
but again, Sheer Force coming on Haunter, Psychic Surge Kadabra, Regen Tinkaton almost every week, P-Heal Lapras, some speed boosting for Stonejourner so it can actually do something.
I mean, Zard is pretty good physically. Like, I've been running... I ran D-Dance, Flare Blitz, Magic Guard.
DD Magic Guard. Yeah, it can do that. But there's, again, solid team. Next up, it's the bitch.
Wow!
Exo Stomp.
That's me.
Let's see here. He originally put his team lower than I had it. We obviously didn't place each other's teams our own teams, because duh. Typhlosion's a very strong breaker. It will do its thing. Exo's team actually has a weakness to fire, but Parasect being so weak to fire doesn't actually show up on the type chart as a weakness. Because it is technically 5 times weak to fire.
With dry skin.
So it doesn't actually show up.
Eating it up.
Fire is your immunity. Your one fire resist is Barbarical.
That's all I need.
With its solid, I guess 86 Spadaf is okay. So it's not awful, but again, leaning on that for your fire resist is a little bit scary. The options are there though, for the most part.
Yeah.
You got Typhlosion and Primate being very solid breakers. Ambipom's a pretty good breaker as well. Drifblim can do a fair bit on the special side. And then defensively, like Togedemaru is solid. Barbarical is going to be leaned on really heavily defensively here, rather than offensively, even though it can do both. Clefable, I guess defensively is okay here. Offensively, not as much, but can still perform. Skunk Tank's great AV regen option. So there's great options, and I think we finally, I wouldn't say it yet, but when you get in this top half, I think Exo Team's the only exclusion. You get in teams where every single mon on these teams can be used in every game.
Every single one of my
You're not bringing a Parasect, I refuse.
No, I can. I very easily can, because I could go Prankster, Light Screen, Reflect, Spore. It has Knockoff. It has like Leech Seed subsets. It can come. It actually is pretty decent.
Don't argue that. I don't think it's a great one.
Okay, I'm not saying it's a great... It's 3 points. I'm not saying it's a great mom, but it's definitely worth bringing on some games.
Okay. Prove it to me then.
Okay. You know what? Okay, I will.
Also, I guess actually it has to come because it's the only ground resist outside of Driftblood and the immunity. So, yeah. Those are the weaknesses, the ground and fire weaknesses specifically. Both are immutable though, so you can definitely circumvent that. Otherwise, the offense can be read relatively easily. Typhlosion runs 1 set, and it's Desolate Land. Primate, while solid, I guess you can kind of just blanket check the rest with a good physical option. And so it's not the most one-dimensional. I am picking at straws, but there's definitely a lack of versatility options compared to other teams.
Yeah,
that's what I give.
I can see that. I'm a lot of my mons I'm having trouble not bringing, and then it's like I have to exclude those other mons. It makes it harder to bring, but I don't know. I think there are a few things that could have easily fixed my team. I wanted to try different mons though, like for example, Barbarical's in the same tier as Kabutops. I know Kabutops is better, but I wanted to try Barbarical because I tried Kabutops last time.
Better for your team, actually, believe it or not.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think because it's just got better defensive stats across the board.
Yeah.
And that's what your team needs more than the offense at the moment. Like, Barbarical should be going Earth Eater most weeks to help circumvent your ground weakness and then kill back with water moves. So it's just... But I think, again, the thing I've said is Typhlosion's going Eruption almost every week with Desolate Land. Anipom's almost always going Guts. Skunk Tank wants to go Earth Eater or Regen every week. There's a lot of mons where you can just kind of guess the ability.
If you think so. Hey, I'm not going to say anything.
Face value, right? I'm just playing it how I see it.
Yeah.
Anyways, again, it's a solid team. Next team we got.
Next team.
She, Exo can speak again.
Woo! I can speak. All right, basically.
Go.
Huh? Oh.
Go, speak.
Okay. Okay, so first glance, this team looks actually very strong, and I kind of agree with that. However, it's pretty top heavy. A lot of, like, you're not bringing Cranidos or Ivysaur most games. So you really have those top, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7? Top 7? Or 8. Well, top 8. But, I guess it's not the worst thing. You also have a lot of good mons that kind of work well with each other. You have a lot of, maybe not a lot of pivot, but you definitely have a few pivot mons that work, again, pretty well with each other. Magneton has pivot, which is good. You got Rabombi, which kind of sniped from me, but whatever, that's fine. Rabombi's pretty good. Speed tiers, you do have a pretty big gap between Rabombi and Ninetales. Not huge, but you go from the Ninetales to Samurott to 85. So I don't know. It's okay. Definitely one of these stronger teams. Definitely a top 3, like we have already mentioned. But yeah. Besides that, you only have Rockers. You don't have Spikers or Toxic Spikers. You do have a Weber though. Yeah, I think this team overall is pretty good.
Yep. I mean, I think you hit most of it. Solid team. Speed tier's a big one. Flying types give you a lot of trouble because Magneton's basically your only resist. Kratos doesn't have bulk. It has no bulk. Other than that, it's a pretty solid team.
Yeah.
I mean, Gallade, Samurott, pretty solid. Rabami's a pretty good Sheer Force mon. I would say it leans a little heavy on the physical side. But, yeah.
I would argue against that. Magneton, Rabombi, Ninetales, they're all like pretty specially heavy hitter mons. I think Gallade, Samurott, and Kumala are like the 3 physical, but I feel like it's like an even. I think it evens out.
Altaria wants to go physical more than special. Wants to go physical, probably more than special because of DD. And better. Magneton also needs to go defensive a fair bit for this team, being the steel type.
Yeah.
So it's right.
Could see that, yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a solid team, but yeah, doesn't break the top 2.
That was top 3, by the way. Now we're in the top 2.
Yes. Okay, alright. Where do I begin here? So this is Steering's team. So I'm going to be talking for most of this one, but they're pretty weak to ground. Not gonna lie. You have Gligar. And if that ground type has Refrigerate, good luck.
Thank you.
Besides that, I mean, you're pretty water weak because I say that because Roserade and Drampa, they die to ice moves, and water types have ice moves most of the time. Let's see what else.
My ice weakness is again water weak.
Yeah. Right, yeah, so it kind of bounces off of each other there. Your dark type is a Thievul. I'm sorry, I don't think... I wish Thievul was better, but I don't think it's a good mon.
It's coming. It's coming.
I would... Alright, if you say so.
Not a good defensive dark type, but it does have stats and utility.
True. Besides that, honestly... Again, you know I like the colorful teams. It's a very colorful team. It hits all the marks. You know what you're doing when you're building AAA. So, you built it pretty well, obviously. And, yeah, besides that, the only other criticism, I guess, would be that you only have defoggers, which could be scary with good as gold. But, yeah.
I guess I'll criticize myself now, shall I?
Sure.
Yeah. Criticizing myself, again, relying on defensive abilities a fair bit to circumvent that ground weakness and that water weakness. Ice, you can figure it out. There's not that many strong ice attackers in the format, thank God. But you do gotta figure that out. The top 5 are scary as scary, right? There's not much that can get scarier than the top 5. I think it is the strongest set of breakers in these teams. Biggest offensive powerhouses. The defense is again a little lackluster though, with Gligar having those very specific weaknesses. Comfey having to be defensive a lot of the time to cover those weaknesses, as well as Relicanth and G-Fisk. But I mean, also good value in Relicanth and Zebstrika specifically, and the G-Fisk. But yeah, I think that's most of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Solid. All right. Last
team we have Queen of Roses.
Yeah. So.
I blame Bug.
Yeah.
Let's see where to start.
First thing I do want to say, I immediately knew that Bug helped this one because there's a Clang on the team. So.
Also, he told me he helped. That's a different point.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, as soon as I saw Clang, like, she picked up Clang, I was like, oh, okay.
So this is Bug's team. Anyways,
yeah.
Let's look at Bug's team here for a second. That's what I'll be calling it. Again, a little ground weak because your immunity is, well, it's only Rotom Fan now. and Appleton. Mesprit's not an immunity. This team does lean on Clang for some of its weaknesses, and Clang doesn't want to come to every game. It is only a 2-pointer. While it is value for its tier, it is only a 2-pointer.
True.
It can get trapped by grounds. And I think Bros is going to have to try to catch that, especially because if a ground type traps that Clang, you're now really weak to flying spam, bird spam, which is a very solid type offensively, and you're very weak to fairy. Pixelate exists. Semispheres you resist, which isn't great. All things considered, Overcoil is a great AV regen option, being that poison dart type only beats ground. Earth Eater is an option on that too. Good offense on Horiyama, Semi-Seer, Mesprit. Mesprit can E-Force if need be. Good defense, Quagsire, Appleton, Rotom Fan, Aromatisse, Mesprit again, Overquill. Really solid defensive options. Great pivoting. Well, not that great pivoting, to be honest. That's another weakness of this team. But it is, again, perfect type chart. Good speed tiers. Great balance of offense and defense. And good use of the tiers. So, not much bad I can say about it.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely hit everything that was
Wait,
bad.
you mean Bug hit everything?
Okay. Well, I'm saying what you just said, but
Yeah.
Clang is the glue that holds this team together, which isn't. It's not good. Like you said, it gets trapped by ground types, and you want to be running a Violet, so it's tough. It's one of these steel types that, I mean, there was 3, so this whole thing that you can't really run what you want to run because of a Violet. So
I mean, you can't. It's, again, you have to be able to trap with the ground.
if you don't have a Violet, what the heck do you do?
Volt Switch. I mean, because it's got Volt Switch, so it's...
Yeah, but then ground comes... I'm saying, like, a ground type always comes in on Clang here.
Yeah. It does mean, though, that you do get information. If a ground type's coming, then you probably know what it's going to be, which helps you out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That information, but again, regardless, even without the Clang, if I'm going to take it off for a second, just look at the type chart without Clang, you don't, right? I mean, you lose your normal resist.
You lose a lot here, actually.
You do lose a fair bit.
You lose, like, all of those greens now turn to look at that.
Yeah. It gets scary. I'll do it again. There you go.
No, don't do it again.
But it is, again, Clang is not a bad mon. Surprisingly, 60, 95, 85 is really good bulk. And 80 attack is also nothing to scoff at. So, again, not bad. The team is the best team here.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Probably the best across both divisions. Or both pools, sorry. But, yeah. Anyways, that is the Pool A, PRs, and info. If you need any help or assistance with your teams, your prep, feel free to message Exo or myself to attempt to help you with some of your prep, or just anyone else, because AA can be hard. And yeah, that's it from me.
Yeah, alright guys. So this was Group A. Group B will probably be coming out at the same time as this one, so check that out. Well, I'll probably upload them at the same time. So.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, we will see you guys when Group B comes out. And yeah, guys, good luck on all your games. And we will see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.